Hey guys, it's me, Xanda, and I got the wonderful opportunity to talk to the Senior Director of Brand Strategy for the Digimon brand, along with other brands at Bandai of America, Cisco Maldonado, and we got to talk about the up-and-coming English release of the Digimon X. There's also a couple little other things that he hints at in this interview, so I really do hope you enjoy this, and make sure that if you're not subscribed, to subscribe to the channel, because as you see, your boy's got the hookup, and hopefully I will be having many more interviews with Bandai in the future. In fact, I may have another interview queued up and ready to go for next week for something else that Bandai is planning on releasing in the very near future. So definitely you'll want to subscribe if you want more videos like this. And without further ado, let's get on with the interview. I really do hope you watch the whole thing, because there's some very interesting stuff that gets mentioned here. And yeah, here we go. So first of all, thank you so much again for taking the time out. I'm pretty sure you guys are super busy with everything going on right now with Digimon. I know there's a lot going on, especially now officially we're getting the Digimon X. Yeah. I, along with a lot of fans, new and old, are super excited to see this. We were wondering after the 20th what we were going to get next. Was it going to be XY device? And thankfully it is the X device. Right. Just as just in case, for the folks that don't know who you are, what you do for Bandai, feel free to give us a little intro of who you are, what you do, and everything like that.
Sure. So my name's Cisco Maldonado, and I am the Senior Director of Brand Strategy for Bandai America. And so I'm responsible for brands like Digimon and Dragon Ball and Naruto and some of the Pac-Man stuff. So a lot of the anime and boys properties, right? Everything from action figures to digital pets to some games to plush. So it's a pretty big range of stuff that I oversee. And what we really want to be able to do is, translate the best interpretations of the content that people love into a great device or a great action figure or a collectible, right? Because it's the stuff that I grew up on as a kid, right? So I get to sort of help make that dent in the universe and say like, oh, I remember that show. How cool would it be if I'm able to create an action figure for that thing? Or I remember Digimon when I was growing up, and now I get to release that thing again with new colors, right? Like I got to say like, oh, the glow in the dark version, that was my idea, something like that, right? So it's a pretty fortunate place to be.
Wonderful. Thank you so much again. And it's funny you actually mentioned the glow in the dark device, because that was I have it somewhere in here, but that's like definitely my favorite one that you guys released. I'm so happy you guys did that. So
yeah, well, it's funny. There's a little story behind it. So when we're posting stuff on social media, right? Like we're always looking like, what's going to be the next thing? And we just basically did a simple tweet, and we basically said, hey, what colors would you want in the next 20th anniversary device, right? And like you get all these different things, but by and large, like the three top choices were like a glow in the dark version, right? A black one and then a white one, right? And so when it was time to release new colors, right? I was talking with our R&D folks in Japan, and I'm like, like we can make a glow in the dark one, right? And they're like, yeah, like the technology for like luminous plastic isn't new, right? It was just like, we didn't know people wanted something like that, right? Well, 25 years ago, there wasn't really social media that you could instantly poll people and find out 5 or 6 days later, here's what a lot of people are asking for, right? And so we were fortunate that we were at a time in the development cycle where we could make those things. And when we released it, like it's been selling like hotcakes. So
yeah. And that's awesome to hear. I actually didn't know. That's a nice little insight into the kind of design process that comes into this, where you guys do talk to a design team in Japan and ask them, hey, are people, we are asking people what they want. They're telling us this is possible. Mm-hmm. So that is really cool. It's cool to hear that, because I always did wonder kind of how that happens, because I know you guys listen a lot to what we have to say, because I remember when that tweet went out, a lot of people in the community were like, hey guys, Bandai's asking us, everyone go there right now, ask them, tell them that we want glow in the dark, and like it happened, and we were all like, oh my god.
Yeah, no, we do listen. I do read all the comments, and it's important, right? Because a lot of times when you're so in the thick of doing work and stuff like that, it's easy to have blinders on, right? So I make a conscious point to take a step back, look at the environment, saying, what are people liking? What are they not liking? What are they saying, right? And if I have the ability to sort of push things in one direction or the other, then I can, right? Because the problem when you're making a toy or something like this, we're working like 14, 15 months out, right? So I already kind of know what the next thing's going to be, and depending on where I am in that cycle, I can impact things. Other times, like, sorry, they turn the machines on, right? So it's going to take 3 months for them to make it, and then, you know, you get what you're going to get that you already planned for. So it's tricky, but that's part of the job, right? You have to guess what people are going to want to do a year and a half from now.
And let me tell you, as far as what you guys picked, as far as these new colors, we are loving them so far. I haven't heard one person yet that has said that they dislike these colors. I absolutely love them. I love the blue one so far. That's definitely my favorite of the new colors that are coming out right now.
You mean this one, the white and blue?
Yes, the light and blue, but also the I call it the jazz solo cup version, the kind of sea foam and
oh yeah, let me switch my camera here. You can get a. So like this bad boy right here.
Oh yeah, that one. A lot of people are really digging the look of that. And just to confirm, these two are, as far as like Digimon that are in there, are the same device.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're loving these colors, and, you know, I can't wait to see what else you guys do as far as, you know, if you guys are going to do a wave 2 or wave 3. I would love to see what you guys have planned, because, I mean, these colors so far are just absolutely lovely. Like, did they come from kind of just your own research as far as just seeing what people like, or were they just kind of colors that you guys kind of brainstormed together to
you know what, it's a little bit of both, right? So in the, I guess it's not really the Digimon universe, but like in the actual devices, especially for X, there's color codes, right? So this one is the red and the blue, right? And then in Japan, when they released it, they have like a gold version and a silver version, and each of the colors of the X's signify either a different new evolution pattern or a different egg or something that is unique to that particular color, right? So when I knew that we were going to come out with red and blue, right, which were sort of the first ones that came out in Japan, then from a pure aesthetic point of view, we were thinking like, well, what's going to look really cool with a red X on it, right? And so in which case then, right, if I kind of go to my super close-up camera, I'm like, well, what looks better with a red X than like the black one, right? And so in this case right here, it's sort of like, okay, that just looks cool, right? And in the case of the blue, right, it's something on a stark white, you know, you make that choice. So we get what we get to a certain point, right? Like, okay, we know we're going to be releasing the blue version and the red version. And then we started thinking, what colors are going to be different enough from what's already out there, right? Because obviously we had the 20th anniversary, right? Like a year and a half ago, and we have like 13 different colors now, right? We have like the translucent blue and the yellow and the green and the orange and the black and the white and the glow in the dark and all that kind of stuff, right? So when we're coming up with new colors, we didn't want to be so alike that like, oh, the only difference aesthetically is that there's just an X on it now, right?
Gotcha.
So we want to make sure it's different enough, but not so different that people didn't really get it, right? And even in terms of the packaging, that's what we did here, right? So if you and your fans, you know, have that packaging of the original 20th anniversary, right? It's kind of that old school with like the bricks around. But for Digimon X, we wanted to do something, you know, very different, right? So in terms of something like this, right, we have like the 3 windows right here that is sort of reminiscent of the original like Tamagotchi and Digimon device when they first came out. So I wanted to sort of have a little bit of a throwback to having the device right in the middle and then having the 2 different windows above and below, right? And so obviously we have like the red version and the blue version. So we're really happy with how the packaging turned out, and it really reminds people like it is a different device because there's so much more that you can do to not only expand the play value, right? But it's different every time, from like the Xi generator to almost it's skill based now, right? Like when you're trying to figure out like what's your attack going to be, and like if you miss it, you're not going to do very well, right?
You're gonna get that cool cut in that's new to this device.
And the facial expressions, right? Which is like super cool. And they've been around for a while, you know, in Japan, but that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to the most, because it's like a neat little Easter egg that you get every time, you know, it rewards you, right? And so whether you're going to see like Tyrannimon's face, you're like, oh, there he is again, or it's just sort of an extra little fun thing that really leads to the enjoyment of the game.
Yeah, and I love it. I've said it before because I do own the Japanese device. Actually, I have it. I brought it with me. Just and I love this one so much because it feels more kind of like a video game with V-Pad aspects, and I love that because the leveling system, the quest mode's a bit more fleshed out, and then just like you said with that mini game with the cut in, it just feels like there's more of a feedback. You know when you've gotten that critical hit because you see his face and you see that big blast, and more often than not, that's the killing blow. Like you just won, and it's just so fun. I absolutely love that, and I've said it before. I do love the 20th. I always recommend people that want to get in to V-Petting, especially now, thanks to what you guys have been doing at Bandai America. I always recommend the 20th. I think it's a great starting point. But as far as like my favorite of the recent stuff that Japan's been releasing, it's definitely the X. And so to know that you guys are making the X's now finally, they're affordable, they're going to be out there for all these new fans that were hooked on the 20th. They want more Digimon to play with. They want kind of newer variations and stuff like that. This is finally going to be out there for them. 4 different colors. 2 of them are just brand new to us, which I always love when you guys do that. It just makes us feel so special. Like I just like you said, you're listening to the comments, so I'm pretty sure how much we do appreciate these newer colors.
No, like the Digimon community it's a serious one, right?
Yeah,
like,
we're loud.
Like, there's a whole lot of, no, but like even if you go to any Comic-Con, you have like folks dressing up, right? Like it takes a certain level of, for lack of a better word, commitment to really be into something so much that you're willing to buy a shirt or wear a jersey or dress up like Omegamon or whatever it might be, right? And so it's a responsibility because we want to make sure that we're making our fans happy, right? And then still giving them something that's going to, in the industry term is surprise and delight, right? We say it all the time, but it's like we want the fans to be like, okay, here's what I'm expecting. Right? And we give them what they expect. So of course you're going to expect the black one and the white one, right?
Yeah.
But then when we have like, that seafoam mermaid color and then this like kind of groovy, purple and orange together, like that's something that's unexpected, right? And at first you're like, oh, what is that? And then you know what it is, right? And you're like, okay, that's pretty cool. So, we're really happy that it's actually doing really, really well right now. Folks have loved it.
Awesome.
And you're right. It really is, nothing compares to the 20th anniversary because it's the one that sort of started it all, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of getting to that next level, right? And really and it's different every time, right? Like you could make all the, non-care mistakes in the world, but if you miss that little, the needle going back and forth and getting your critical hit, like that's going to ruin, your Digimon's day. And of course, it's backward compatible. So if you have the X and you have the 20th at home, you can still have that battle, right? And it's still, $19.99. So for all this new stuff, backward compatible for $20, like pretty good.
It's a great price. Honestly, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the prices that some of the Japanese versions go for now, especially just the X's. When I bought the red one, that was when it came out. I was like, I'll get the blue one later. And now I think they cost somewhere around $200. It's kind of nuts. It's a little crazy. So now that you can get that for $20, like you really can't beat that. Like that's, what else would you want? So just to keep on the Digimon X, there are, if you will, there are a lot of dates floating around as far as the actual official release, like when people will start to see them. People have pre-ordered them already from Amazon and a couple other stores. When is the actual date, just to solidify it, if you can?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously they're available for pre-sale online everywhere, right? Whether it's Amazon, GameStop, Target, Walmart, right? And then it's funny because each of the retailers has their own date which they sort of get their new stuff in, right?
Yeah.
So we're basically saying like towards the beginning of August-ish, that's when the earliest you'll be able to see these, right? But depending on the store in the chain, you could have retailer XYZ have them in some stores in Florida and the stores in Texas aren't going to see anything for a couple weeks, right? But over a window by the holiday time, right, then they're going to be there, depending on which stores are going to take them, because a lot of stores already are carrying the 20th anniversary, right?
Yes.
So from a merchandising point of view, right, obviously you own a store, right, and you want people to buy your stuff at your store. So do you put in Digimon X before 20th anniversary? Or do you hold it back a little bit and then offer the 20th anniversary for a little bit so people get used to it, they have all the different colors that they want to be able to collect, and then you substitute in Digimon X, right? And so these are things that we talk about all the time in terms of like, when is the right time to release Digimon X, right? When is the right time to add a new color? Do you wait? If it's too soon, are people not going to buy the first one because they know the next one's coming in, right? So it's all these little guessing games, little marketing mini games, as I like to call them, that you kind of have to figure out, where is the puck going to be 4 months from now, right? And sometimes you get lucky and you make a good guess, and sometimes you realize like, oh, like we shouldn't have waited that long, or we need to wait a little bit longer because, you know, all these different reasons. But all in all, you know, it's a great little device. I mean, we like to say like, it's wireless, right? So
True.
no Wi-Fi involved, right? I mean, it's not, I mean, come on, they're 8-bit sprites, right? We're not talking Call of Duty over here, right? But still, it's, you know, something you can put on your backpack or on your briefcase or on your keychain, and off you go. And if you're bored for like 2 or 3 minutes, like you can pause it, right? Like it's not like going to die on you. The cool thing about it is, you know, the pause button now, right? You put him in the refrigerator and then like he'll just keep forever until you're ready to touch him again, because, you know, we got jobs and meetings and all this kind of stuff like that. And you don't want like, someone bugging you because he's hungry.
And you don't want him dying on you either.
Exactly.
So yeah, I do think that's great. I think that the simplicity of these devices is what I think most of their charm comes from. Especially with the Digimon X, I mean, it completely just like pushes everything to the absolute edge. Because this is like, we're talking about, I mean, pretty much like 30-year-old, probably even older technology. But the way that the X makes it feel, it really doesn't feel like it is as old as it is. It really feels like it is a more modern take on the classic kind of Digimon gameplay. So that does make it, in my opinion, that's why it makes it one of my favorites, is because how far it pushes the ideas that are just kind of, if you've been V-petting for a long time, you know, there's things that you expect, you know, like when you feed them a meat or you feed them a vitamin, it feels 1 heart. You know, the X, no, it feels half a heart. So you got to feed them a bit more. And
then you get the little, and then depending on how well you do, you'll get that buff, or you'll get those extra hit points, right?
Yes.
Or you get all these number of things, or at the beginning of each day, you roll the dice, right? And it'll let you know how well you're going to have your connect to hit, right? And I think that, even in combination with the overall storyline of what Digimon X is, really adds that extra dimension, right? So for your fans out there, and if you have both devices, it's interesting. So in the 20th anniversary, if you turn the screen off and you sort of look at the decoration on the screen, right, you'll see like a field with like trees and flowers, whatever it might be, right? Well, on Digimon X, if you actually look at the background that's already burned into the LED screen, it's like a burnt forest, right? It's like a city that's in ruin, right?
Yes.
Which ties directly into the X antibody thing that makes Digimon X possible, right?
Yes.
So it's little tiny things like that, details that that fans are really going to gravitate towards, and it's consistent with the overall storyline that ties directly into the animation, which I think is just sort of an extra cool thing, because really when you think about it, it really is a portal into that digital world. Right? Yes. That you're training these things. It's not just something that you capture and you fight it, right? The whole point of Digimon is it's this, your helper, your partners with this thing to try to help get them out of, you know, this you know, tyrant who's trying to kill the world and only like 5% survive, and here's what it is. Like you're not going to find that with any other VPET out there, right? Like,
no, I mean,
yeah,
the just like you said, the level of storytelling with Digimon. I mean, Digimon, it's like an iceberg. You know, you start, it's like, oh, it's cute VPETs, and then there's like this abyss, and it's like the lore, and it gets really involved. And with the Digimon X, I love the fact that it is, like you said, in lore with the older pendulum device that never came out in America, along with even the 20th, and it's just such a cool thing to see. So actually, I'm glad you did mention that. I wanted to know, now with the Japanese devices, they did come with a small little comic that kind of explained like the lore. Will you be expecting to see those in packages in the American version?
Currently, it's not in the American version, right?
Gotcha.
And a lot of it is really due to, are people going to, the fans will get it. They'll know what it is.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But in terms of when this is going into a Target or Walmart, right, there's a lot of folks who either didn't grow up on it, or we're getting a lot of kids doing it for the first time, in which case then, to start off with Digimon X, a little strip, you're not going to know where it is, right? It's kind of like starting Digimon in the 4th season, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna be like, whoa, what's happening, right? Like it's almost like you need a starting point. And so, I mean, eventually we'll think about doing something like it, or we could post, on the Bandai website in terms of here's a little PDF that you can do, which is actually a pretty good idea. I actually do. But we had thought about that, but everything in terms of, do we translate it? Is it going to translate the right way? And all the stuff that goes along with it. And we wanted to get this out as soon as possible, right? So,
and that's, I mean, we're not complaining. I mean, I'm surprised how quickly this didn't come out. I mean, I was expecting maybe there'd be like maybe a year of silence or something, but the fact that we are getting it, like, boom, hey, I know you guys are having fun with the Wave 3/20th, but get ready this year because we're gonna get.
That was a tough choice. we debated it a lot in terms of like, should we go now? Should we go in holiday time? Should we go in spring of next year? And at a certain point in time, you just have to take action and just do it, right? Because there's always going to be people being like, oh, you should have waited, or what's going to happen with the next colors for the 20th anniversary? Are you going to make new colors? Like, we could. But like, I'll ask you, right? Like, we'll have a conversation focus group of one. Like, currently for 20th anniversary, we have 13 colors, right?
Which kind of shocks me. I didn't even realize it was that many.
There's a lot. It's like a baker's dozen, right? Should there be more, right? And if there is another color, is it really going to change things, right? Or is it just another color, right? Because unlike Tamagotchi, where you have all these beautiful scores and colors and you have like plaids and it's more like a fashion statement, right? And so you want to get the next new style, like a pair of shoes or a shirt or something like that, right? But for Digimon, it's a completely different thing, right? So at a certain point in time, it's like, what's the difference between 15 colors and 12 colors, right? And sometimes it'll be like, if there's a super cool color that we think is going to do well, then we'll do that, right? Versus, do we use those efforts and energy into what's going to be next for Digimon X, right? So...
Which, I mean, and you think about it too, I mean, these are technically, you're still getting newer colors, but you're also getting a new device altogether. Exactly. So, I know a lot of people, people were split on that too. People were like, I don't know, I'd like to see this color in the 20th, I'd like to see that color. Then people were like, but I'd like to see a new device. I want to see what else they would do with these other devices because they're not really as easily available as they used to be. And if they're as available as the 20th are right now, I mean, that's just like a godsend. I mean, like I said before, we're very happy and glad that the X was the device of choice. I mean, I theorize myself. I always kind of like theorize like what you guys' next move are, which is really hard to do because you guys do keep a lot of things tight to the chest, which I appreciate. But I did think that the X was the more logical step to go because it still has that iconic brick shape, which is now super iconic to not even just like OGs and old people that used to play them, but newer kids, because the 20th is just like, you can buy them so many places. You can get them at GameStop, you can find them at Walmart, you can find them at Target. So it's a very iconic look. So you have that look, and then you can put an X on it. It's like, oh, what is this? Like this is new. Like what are the new things in here? Can I raise new Digimon?
Exactly, and hopefully when people, let's say if they try Digimon X for the first time, right? Like I would kind of have a side bet that they would want to discover the other one too, right? So obviously, if you're into Digimon, you're going to know what X is, right? But if your first entry point is X, then more so than not, you're at least going to want to find out a little bit more, like, oh, this thing's backward compatible with what? Right? And if they're both being sold next to each other in the store, like, I'll spend more on coffee over the course of a weekend than like, have something that's going to last me for years.
Oh yeah, and these devices, I mean, they're built super tough. I mean, I'm so happy like how sturdy they are, because I try not to, but I've dropped mine a couple times. They've seen some spills, and I've never had any issues at all with them. They still work like a charm.
Yeah, so, they're pretty rugged.
Yeah. So, little bit kind of like still dealing with the X's. I was hearing rumors that there were talks when the 20th was coming out, and the 20th were like blowing up everywhere, that there was an idea of holding something like a tournament with the devices, kind of like an invitational. Now that kind of COVID restrictions are kind of starting to ease up, could we expect something like that with the Digimon X coming soon, with whether this year or maybe next year or the year after that? Could we expect some kind of official sanctioned Bandai tournament, kind of like what Japan used to do back in the day, or is it kind of up in the air?
I know of the tournaments. I've seen them, right? Planning an event like that, it's really, I don't know. I think it would be fun, right? But obviously with with travel and restrictions and new things coming on, right? We have to make choices in terms of like, what would be like the forum for that, right? And then how, and if it's an event, like how do you communicate that event, right? Because if you're playing a tournament with something like this, like you can barely see the screen, right?
Yeah.
And so it's, you know, to have a community of people who are battling, that's great, but you want to be able to share it, right? And sharing a battle with a screen, it's tough from a putting on an event point of view, right?
Yeah.
So I think it would be like super fun, but it's not really in the stars right now. But again, if there's enough people who are begging for something like this, like anything is possible.
Wink, wink.
I listen.
Yeah. So, and that is another thing, you know, they are listening. So be nice. You know, I want to see people. I know I do want to apologize because I do send people. I say, hey guys, Bandai's listening. Ever since I was able to do just an email interview last year, you know, one of your representatives told me the same thing. You know, you're always listening. So I said, hey guys, let them know what you want. And I'm pretty sure that started a whole that opened the floodgates. But I mean, it's wonderful to have a company like that listens directly to their fans. I mean, just like you said, that Glow in the Dark 20th would not have happened if we didn't say, hey, we want this. And that, I mean, you don't really get that kind of interaction nowadays, surprisingly, with social media and the way everything is. You really don't get that kind of interaction with companies where they directly listen to exactly what you want. So, you know, if we're looking at these colors and we want some more X colors when they do release some future waves, if that's in the stars, let them know what you guys are looking for. You guys want another glow in the dark, maybe translucent colors or something even more wacky. Let them know, and then they'll look it up. So I think that is wonderful and awesome. Now, I know this is kind of a hard question because it's just like the way retailers are and everything. Yep. But you know, there are a lot of fans of Digimon that are a bit more international. They always ask me, you know, where can I get this? You know, where can I pick this up? Do you kind of have an answer for that? Like, you know, where certain countries can find these if they're available in those countries? Like, I know North America is covered, and I think Australia is also covered. They can get theirs on either their Amazon or at their local retailers. But as far as like other countries, like what is the distribution looking like for those other countries that are looking to get into the Digimon X?
Well, I mean, I'm not super familiar with like the Europe. So like Bandai America, right? We handle like North America and Canada, right? And so we to your point, we have that covered. For areas in like Europe and North Africa and those sort of, we have offices over there who are on different timelines, right? Which is fascinating, right? Even like TV shows come out at different times, right? Just in terms of what's ready and where, right? So in terms of a release of something, whenever possible, just because social media is instant everywhere, we try to have a global worldwide release wherever we can, right? So if nothing else on, you know, everybody's online sites or retailers that they go to, right? It's just a matter of clicks before you find out like, yes, I can have that. In terms of a brick and mortar location, that would really vary from, you know, from country to country. So if you're in UK, like, is it at, you know, this great retailer? Like, I wouldn't know, right? But each of the Bandai affiliates all over the world, they have their own website, right? So there's Bandai.com, there's Bandai.uk, there's Bandai.fr, right? And so all of those within their websites, I'm pretty sure they will have retailer links like available at, right? And they'll have like their version of GameStop, right? Or they'll have their version of like a Target or, you know, Boots or whatever it might be that you can buy it at, right? So just a couple clicks and it should be easy enough to find.
So keep that in mind, everyone, because I get that question a lot. You know, I normally don't have the answer. So thank you for that. I do really appreciate that. So, you know, there are other Bandai branches, most likely. If you're not showing up on Bandai America, check your local Bandai subsidiary and figure that out.
No, that's a great answer.
Yeah. So, you know, you mentioned earlier that essentially the timeline here, you guys are thinking 15 months ahead. So as we're seeing this get announced, this, you know, the pre-order starting and everything else, you guys are already working on the next device right now. Yeah. So as far as, you know, what you guys listen to, you know, would you say that there is already essentially like a planned roadmap for releases over the next couple of years? Or do you guys kind of have a soft roadmap and you work in whatever you can with like fan demand?
Right. You know, it's a little bit of both, right? So we do have a plan, right? And the further you go out in the plan, the more flexible you have to be, right? And the overall planning model is the same as if you're making a toy that's tied to a movie, right? So you know when the movie's coming, which means that the toy is going to come out a little bit beforehand, right? And if the movie moves because of production or there's delays, everything has to move out at the same time, right? So we're always keeping our eye on something like that. So if there's a new Digimon video game that comes out, if there's a new Digimon movie that comes out or a new series, right? We're always looking at what are those pieces of content that are dropping, right? And then that gives us our cue as to when's a good time to come out, right? So recently, well, before COVID, right, there was the Digimon Adventure movie that came out in March, right? Mm-hmm. So if that moves out a year, well, then I have to relook at all my plans and saying like, okay, if it moves out to December of next year, right, that fits right around the holiday time. So then to me, I'm thinking, okay, I should try to release this next thing around October, November, just in time for Christmas season and all these things like that, right? And so I have to not only look at when the content, TV, video game, theatrical is coming out, but then also the retailers have their own windows, right? Like Amazon will take something whenever you can put it out there, right? But some of the bigger stores, right, they'll have their spring set and they'll have their fall set, right? And regardless if you're coming out on in May, you've already missed spring, but you're gonna have to wait a little bit for fall, right? So there's moving timelines and then there are set dates. And as we're planning and we have this big old calendar, we kind of move things around like a chessboard. We have to sort of take all things into account in terms of when we can physically put something into market, right? And then we have to step back and then think, is this the best thing for the device, right? Is it too close to the release of the last thing, right? If we're gonna have a new color, should we wait because the next big thing is coming in, right? And then we sort of wait for that one. Do we release everything all at one time in this like giant Digimon event of something, right? These are all the things that we think about, and we have to think about it like a year and a half ahead of time, which make things interesting and fun. Because a year and a half ago, who knew where we were going to be, right? So
yeah, exactly. I was going to say with COVID, mix COVID in the mix, and then it's just like who knows what's going to happen. So, like I said before, I just want to thank you again for taking time out of your schedule and just not only talking to me about the X and everything, but also kind of give us a little insight on a little bit of behind the scenes stuff. Because a lot of people are extremely interested. Well, I know I am extremely interested in what happens behind the scenes and how you guys do, the process between just picking a color or just picking a device. I do really appreciate that.
Oh no, I'm glad. And I think it's great that you have your fans and your followers that want to know not just what's the next color, but really understand like what's under the hood, right? Because when you see that and you appreciate like the level of complexity involved in terms of like all these different things, then you kind of wonder like, wow, that's really cool. I can't wait for that next thing, right? And then obviously people are going to speculate, but then it's fun, right? It's like trying to figure out what's going to happen on the next season of, right? And we listen to those conversations too, because it's engaging with our audience and our fans. And it's only through those conversations that we can get insights that simply putting out a new color every season isn't going to give us.
Yeah, and we really appreciate it. Like I said, the amount of kind of communication that we've been getting between Bandai America and the fans directly, we all notice it and we all really do appreciate it. So everyone at Bandai America, from me and all the fans, we really do appreciate all your hard work and everything that you've been doing for us. Because I mean, I said it before, I'll say it again. The VPET fans of Digimon should have back surgery because we've been carrying the franchise when there was absolutely nothing. There was at least the VPETs, and then everything else started booming, and now the VPETs are booming again too. So that we appreciate that you guys really do kind of put a lot of care and effort into these VPET releases, bringing them to America, translating them, manufacturing them, working with us and asking us what kind of colors we want. It's wonderful. It's the coolest thing ever. I mean, I would have never imagined, in a million years, Bandai would come back and start making Digimon toys again, or Bandai America specifically, because that was the best thing.
No, that's great. And as a company, we're thanking you and your fans, right, for holding that banner for 20 years so that we could sort of find our way home, right? So it's a partnership.
Thank you so much again. I know we said it was going to be 30 minutes. We're a bit over time. I don't want to waste your time anymore. Is there anything else you want to say as far as, just anything else? Any last words about the X? Anything you want to tell the folks that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the plugs, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that kind of stuff like that. We listen to your comments. If you like it, let us know. If there's something you want to see, let us know also. And then just know that we are in the planning stages for some pretty cool things coming in the next year or so. So stay tuned.
Okay. Alrighty. So more Digimon coming very soon. Thanks to Bandai America. Again, huge shout out to you. Thank you so much for, again, taking the time out. I keep saying it, but I really do appreciate it because I know you guys are busy. So thank you again.
Glad to be on.
And like you said, follow them on wherever and all their stuff. I mean, most of them are good, but give them, if you don't, make sure you're giving them the likes, making sure you're retweeting all their stuff and replying, and try not to bother them too much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
So yeah, that was the interview. As you can see, we got a lot of little details here and there on some of the behind the scenes work of what they do at Bandai America when it comes to releasing these VPETs stateside. Some cool things we did get little hints at is that seems like we are most likely getting the Wave 2 and the Wave 3, or version 2 and version 3 of the Digimon X, which is very exciting to hear. Just like he said, if you do want to see translated versions of those original comics that were in the Japanese version, feel free to let them know. And on top of that, they did mention that they like releasing these next to events, games, or TV shows that are coming out. Now, Digimon Survive has been something that has been getting delayed constantly, but we do know that it is eventually coming out. So I'm wondering if maybe he was hinting at the fact that they want a VPET release to happen, or at least to coincide with the release of Digimon Survive whenever it does in fact come out. Could the Digimon X be that device? Probably not. I don't know if the Digimon Survive is going to be releasing anytime this year, but I mean, hey, who knows? It is possible. So yeah, thank you again for checking this out and watching it. If you're not subscribed, make sure you do hit that subscribe button, because next week we will be showing off another interview, because I got to interview someone else at Bandai who takes care of another section of the brand that you may have some idea what it might be, but that one's also a very, very interesting interview that kind of shows off some cool stuff. So that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week, guys. Peace.